here. Now I went from Mr. Nice Guy, smiling, apologizing for my actions, to turning this way and being a complete devil. And my persona changed. I stared at him, I said, here, under the table, put it in a bag. And I dropped a couple F-bombs, I called him some names, and I just belittled him because he was a terrible drug dealer. That's if I go to jail, here, put it in here, give it to me. Don't give it to him, give it to me. If I go to jail, it's because I did something wrong. And I'm saying it over and over and over. Well, this guy took that story and that night and went back up north to North Jersey to the DeCavalcante crime family and told them, last night we went and we had dinner with these two Bruno Scarfo guys, the Philly mob guys. We met him down in Atlantic City. Man, he's a heavy hitter, serious guys. Made up this whole story. And yeah, everybody was impressed. And then they met me. The one guy met me after a while. And the case agents decided where things were going to go. I met a couple of guys and it just, you know, I'll never forget the one guy, Luigi, I met. He just looked me up and down because I was dressed like this. I was dressed in a collared shirt, nice pants. These guys are schmucks. They're dressed in T-shirts. They run around the street. They're street guys. And I look more like a polished guy, like a gangster would, like the guys I knew growing up in the streets of Bayonne. Like I would emulate their persona. And he just peppered me with questions. Where you from? None of your business. You know, what are you asking me where I'm from? I don't even know you. What are you asking me questions for? I came in to have a cup of coffee, meet you. I'm doing business with this kid, Jimmy. He goes, where are you from? I said, I told you, stop asking me questions. And the whole thing was so tenuous that he was like, I mean, where are your people from? You're from Italy, right? Yeah. So I told him my background, I told him, and it lined up. Oh my God, Sicily, yeah. I'm from Sicily, you're from Calabria, we could probably be related. You know, so we hit it off. He started buying my goods, and I started selling him some cigarettes and some swag and some stuff that was hijacked. And my persona then was Giovanni Gatto. And he wanted to do business with Giovanni Gatto. So now I had Jimmy, I was doing dope with him. Luigi comes into the picture, I'm doing some swag with him. I'm going to a social club, and I'm becoming known, and I'm just showing my face here and there. And before you know it, like, Jimmy realized I was doing more business with Luigi. So Luigi turns around, he tries to up his game. He tries buying more stuff off me. And it's almost like a high school romance, like this little, you know, like grammar school thing where they got jealous of each other. So Jimmy, he steps his game up, and I guess, you know, he throws down his ace, and he says, well, my uncle is Charlie Stango. You should do business with me. I don't know who your uncle is. And I took a hard stance, and he was like, no, my uncle's a capo. I don't know what that is. You know what a capo is? No, I don't know what that is. Like, what's a capo? He's a captain. Your uncle's a cop? No, he's a captain. He's a captain. Gee, he's like us. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not like you. And I played stupid. I didn't come into this thing because there was a reason why I did that. I wanted them to teach me what the Mafia was. Now you understand, I sat outside the social club I was in. I sat outside the funerals. I videotaped as an investigator. I knew everybody. When he said Luigi, if he said the name Luigi, I knew he meant Luigi Oliveri. And if I screw up, go, oh, Luigi Oliveri? Hey, I didn't tell you his last name. How do you know his last name? So all those little things you have to be so careful of. Now, to make it worse, Elizabeth, New Jersey is here. Bayonne, New Jersey is here. They're literally right next to each other. So I walk like these people, talk like these people. I lived in the same neighborhood, breathed the same water, drank the same water, breathed the same air growing up. Now, what do I tell them? You know, I had a whole persona. And I did. I had a whole backstory to it. And they bought. And for 2.5 years, almost 3 years, they bought into it. And I moved my way up. And I moved past Jimmy. I moved past Luigi. And I made it into Charlie Stango. And, you know, the FBI had been excited that I was into this thing. And so we never intended to infiltrate the Mafia. It just happened so organically. Long story short, it just happened organically. The DeCavalcante crime family is truly the inspiration for the Sopranos. And I know that for a fact. I know that because I could say that because I've read the FBI reports. I lived the life. I know what the Sopranos series is. I could tell you each character is based on certain people, so, and where it's derived from. So, yeah, I mean, it was tough. The day I went on record with the bosses and I met the administration, I rolled up to the pork store. It's like an episode of Sopranos. And I rolled up into a pork store or a deli that I had done surveillance for 10 years on and watched these guys go in and out of. Now I am literally on this other side of the lens, and I am the one being taken pictures of while I'm inside the Mafia. I mean, it was just surreal for me. And it was just like, how do I balance this? How do I survive it? Every day was a surviving task. It was, every day it was like, today's gotta be the day. They gotta find out. They gotta know. They gotta figure it out. They have to. They're not that stupid. These guys are brilliant minds. They truly are. They just chose a life of crime. And I never intended to move up the ranks. It just happened so organically. You know, from one minute I'm just a hang around, next minute I'm an associate, next minute I was a high level associate running around with captains and meeting with captains, and my capo was, and Charlie Stango was my captain at the end, and he was my capo, and he put me in charge of a crew. He put guys under me. I mean, that was crazy. As an undercover, you can only imagine, hold on, wait a minute. You're going to put guys under me, so now I got criminals that are going to start reporting to me and kicking up to me? Like, you know, is that what's going to happen? Well, yeah. And by the way, I'm going to put my son under you. Like, that was, wait a minute, hold on. Like, you're going to put your son under me. Why would you do that? Your son's been aspiring to be you his whole life, you know? So now you have the fear of, I got to survive the mafia. I got to survive guys like Luigi that are jealous of me because I'm making money in the family. All of a sudden I came out of nowhere. Luigi aspires. Guys like the high-level associates aspire to meet with the bosses. The bosses are being called to the pork store for, you know, we called it the cattle dealer. They're coming to this deli to go on record with me, to meet me. They all went out of their way to dress like I am today, wear sports jackets and get dressed up and come out and, you know, and make it known, okay, Giovanni speaks for me, because Charlie wanted to make it known it's official. Like, I'm not a made guy. And it was a whole meeting we had. And he presented me and introduced me, made an introduction and said, this is Giovanni. He's with me. He's now with us. He now flies our flag. This is how it goes. If you need me, you contact him. He speaks for me. And because he was on parole. And I had to answer to the bosses. And the bosses sat there and, you know, I'd never forget, the underboss was a towering individual with some, you know, like intimidating features where he just stared at you and go, all right, tell me, who are you? Where are you from? And as I'm staring at him, I'm trying to focus on his eyes, and I'm looking past him, and there's a bloody apron from a butcher. There's a meat cleaver, a bone saw, a fillet knife. And I have 5 recorders on me. 5 recorders. Because they were like, listen, you're meeting with the bosses. We're not missing any of this conversation. Because Murphy's Law is Murphy's Law, right? Like, you can wear all the recorders you want. They all break at the same time, or the batteries run out, or something happens with tech. That's always the case. So they wanted to be extra sure that they got all these conversations. So, yeah, I'm wearing multiple wires. I mean, you know, multiple devices on me. And I'm looking at them, I'm holding a conversation, but in the back of my mind, I can hear the narrator in the movie. They're gonna know. They're gonna figure it out. At some point, they're gonna bring you to the bathroom. And it was like this voice in my head, you know? I don't have voices in my head really, but I had this voice in my head that day, and they're like, they're gonna check you. At some point, just be ready. They're coming up behind you. They gotta grab you and strip you down. You know, they have to. You know, it's not like the old days when I can blow a whistle and everybody's going to come running in. I didn't have backup. I'm on my own at this point in my career. I went and did my missions, and then I would maybe have 1 or 2 people out there that, you know, I give you the recorder when I'm done, and I debrief you, and he takes notes on what, you know, what transpired quickly, and then you'll transcribe the tapes later. And, you know, so it's not like I had a whole SWAT team to come in and rescue me. It wasn't like that. I was truly living the life of a gangster at that point. Flying back and forth from Vegas. I had a place in Vegas. I had a place in New York. Flying back and forth whenever I wanted. Meeting Charlie in his house. You know, we truly were family at the end of it. Truly, truly family. Like, he looked at me, Christmas, I love you, I love you, you know, making breakfast. I walked in his house. I didn't knock on a door. I called and said, I'm almost there. And he'd be waiting in the driveway to greet me like you greet your family when they come. I mean, he truly was like a father to me. And, you know, yeah, well, I played a part, but psychologically, it takes a toll on you. You know, it will wear you down, and it did eventually. You know, wore me down. And I realized I was so far gone in it, and I had a government ring, a pinky ring that I picked from the Hoover Building, and it was an expensive ring, but that ring never made it in my house. When I took the ring off, when I made it home to my family, my true family, and I made it home as a father, I would take that ring off and drop it in the truck, and it would never make it out of my car or my truck. It would never come in my house. That was my way of saying, okay, you're not, mentally I checked myself and said, you're not Giovanni Gatto anymore. Now you're Giovanni Rocco. Go be a father, you know. My family would never meet a guy like Giovanni Gatto. He's a piece of shit. He's a piece of garbage. You'll never meet him. A guy like that, you want to see that monster? You know, that would come out at a guy like Giovanni Gatto around my kids. The mishaps, terrible. You know, I thought I had it all under control because of this ring. You know, I thought, oh, I got a good balance. I'm a seasoned undercover now. I got this figured out. Until I was at my daughter's soccer game, and a Gambino guy came walking up, and his daughter was playing my daughter. Literally, he came walking up, and I was like, really? I got my parents here. I got my kids here. My little guy running around, and he comes walking up on me, and, you know, thank God I saw him before he saw me, because he would have saw something completely different. I'm wearing flip-flops and board shorts. You know, I didn't look like Giovanni Gatto. I was relaxed. I was in my true form. And I kind of came around and flanked him and got his attention and then whistled at him. And he turns around and he goes, "What are you doing here?" I said, "No, what are you doing? Give me a kiss." Because he's a mate guy, so I got to kiss him on the cheek. And I went in and he poked me in the chest. And he got very defensive. And he went, you know, when they talk about shark eyes, like your eyes go black, you can see his whole demeanor change. And you saw the killer that was in him. And he goes, "You following me? What are you doing here?" And now it's pointing. Now it becomes intimidating. "Are you following?" Now he's poking me in the chest. "Did you follow me here? Are you following me on a weekend? Why are you here?" I said, "I'm here because I told you." And I put a spin on it. You know, again, those wheels the cogs are moving in your brain at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and you better pull something out of your ass as fast as you can. And I did. I was like, "No." I said, "Listen, I have coffee with you and breakfast 4 times a week." I said, "I told you all about this." I said, "You tell me about your daughter playing soccer all the time. I told you the girl I used to date, she had a daughter. See, you don't listen to anything I say. I tell you this all the time. This is the thing with you." And we call each other Cougine, right? Couge. "I tell you this all the time. You don't listen to nothing. It's all about you. I told you this whole story," and I made it about him. And I go, "I told you about the little girl I was teaching. When you told me she was playing soccer, I said, yeah, I'm teaching a little girl, the girl I used to date. Her old man's in a can. He's being held down in prison. And, you know, I taught her how to play in, and she said, my first tournament, I want you." I said, "You don't listen. I told you this 2 weeks ago." "Oh, maybe you did. I don't know. Listen, this is what I do on the weekends. This is why I tell you I can't meet on the weekends. I'm immersed in this. I coach here." And he was a family man. And he's like, "Oh my God, now you know what it's like to be me." And we had a little bit of a chuckle. And inside I started to decompress and started to breathe again. Whew, you know, like that exhale. And I'm like, all right, I think I might survive this. So from that point on, I just didn't come home. I didn't come home a lot. You know, I just figured, you know what, I can't do it. Like, it's just, I got to distance myself. I got to really just stay out in Vegas or stay out in New York. And, you know, and then you just start gravitating away and you start gravitating towards the life a little bit more. You know, I knew there was some problems inside the family. Luigi had some problems with me at the time. He put a claim on me, wanted me to be in his crew. He had been promoted. He had been proposed to be a made member of the Mafia. And then he had gotten his button. We call it the button. You got your button, you got made. And when he got his button, his whole persona changed. He became disrespectful towards the old administration. They didn't like that. And then some things happened inside the family. The boss was stepping down. There was a divide in the family, and a war was brewing within the family, within the two sides of the family. And then crews started going at each other. Different crews started pitting against, because some started backing the new administration. Some thought that some other people should be proposed to be the boss. So there was a lot of friction inside the family. And I was caught in the middle of it. Luigi was on one side, Charlie was on the other, and I'm stuck in the middle. And so at the end, Luigi, he got himself in a little bit of trouble. So they figured, Charlie said to me, he shared with me in Vegas, we were out to dinner one night, and he says, yeah, they're gonna whack him out. Wow, I said, really? And at that point, can you imagine now, I'm at the level where I can challenge it, and I can speak up. And I said, whack him out? You know this guy since he was a kid. He came up under you. You're gonna whack this guy out? And again, for me to say those types of things, you can only imagine how comfortable I was in this life. I'm no longer an FBI guy. I'm no longer law enforcement. I'm all in here, you know. And I said, you're gonna whack this guy out? Really? That's what you do to guys? Really? Charles, is that who we are? Yeah, that's who we are. And then again, they roll the black eyes, and then the veil comes over, and you see this darkness overtake him. And he goes, yeah, he's gonna die. And you know, matter of fact, I told the administration, you'll do it. What? That I'll do it. Yeah, you'll kill him. He goes, why, do you have a problem with that? And the minute he said that, I realized, shit, if I don't say yes to this, you know, it's not like I can say, yeah, let me go jump on a call real quick, see if my FBI supervisor says it's okay that I kill this guy. And then I was all in. I was like, yeah, okay, sure. But at that very moment, I knew, I knew the case was going to come to an end. I knew this would be what ends the case. So as I was on a trajectory to be inside the mob, it was explained to me that when you do this, you'll be promoted, you'll be a made member. I had that conversation on tape, and you know, I listen to those tapes to this day, and it's like, you know, I could get stuck on the fact that I was going to be made, you know, but it wasn't meant to be. You know, I see what a mature investigator I am now, because any young undercover would say, I'm staying in this until I get made. I want to be the first undercover FBI guy to ever be made in the mob, first law enforcement guy to ever be made, you know. So that was a huge feather in my cap, and I wanted it. That was the pinnacle of my career. So, but then I quickly realized, you know what, just it's time to get out. Like, my time is now. I'm not going to kill this guy, Luigi. I planned a murder for months. I gathered my evidence. The investigator in me kicked in again. I planned it out. I gathered a ton of information. I tied the bosses in. I tied the administration into the conspiracy that they had given the approval to do it. I tied some other guys into the conspiracy. I got Charlie. I got Luigi. I got all these guys that I was dealing with. And, the case was successful in the end. But, it was a great case for the Bureau. But, it was a great case for me. And it's what I'm most known for, I guess, because everybody loves a good mob story. But the ending wasn't good for me. The ending, it ruined my career, forced me to retire. What I thought was going to be a career till I'm 65 and do the job that I truly feel I was born to do until I was an old man. And, until you force me out and drag me out, I'll die on this job. I'll die of a heart attack or natural causes when I'm 90 if I could, because I love this job. And then all of a sudden, before I'm even 50 years old, it's pulled out from under me. And now what?
What happened to Charlie at the end of the operation?
Charlie got arrested at the end of the operation. I said my goodbyes to him. I had an emotional moment in his garage, and I said my goodbyes to him, knowing I knew that his door was going to be kicked in at 5 o'clock the next day, right? And he hit me on the back of the head like this, like my uncles would do, like my Italian uncle would do. And it was just a moment because I knew it was our last moment together. I knew. He didn't know, but I knew. And I had to hold it together, and I was just like, all right. And then he goes, all right, come here. I'm happy. He's happy because I'm killing somebody. Because I told him, I'm going home tonight. That's why I was leaving. I'm getting on a plane tonight. My two biker guys, Dutch and the other guy, put him down someplace. We got him. I know where he is. He's dying tonight. I'm getting on a plane. I'm going home and killing him tonight. It's beautiful. I can't wait. Let me know as soon as it's done. And he gives me the smack on the back of the head. He says, come here. I love you. I love you. Now, I don't know whether he's playing me. Maybe he's like, but he knew. I genuinely knew he cared for me. I knew he looked at me as a son. And, I cared for him. And I felt bad that he was going back to prison. I felt like, dude, just tell him where the bodies. There was a moment in me that had that moment of just saying, dude, listen to me. Let me just call the U.S. attorney. Let me call. Just get on board. Tell him where the bodies are buried. Get out of jail. Help yourself. Help this. Help that. But he got arrested the very next day. Took it like a champ. He's a gangster's gangster. He did his 10 years in prison. From what I understand, recently he had been out. He violated his parole. He's a very old man now, and I guess he's in his 80s now. Violated his parole recently, and he was put back inside. From what I understand, he's now the underboss of the family. So he's still rising through the ranks. The Mafia still exists. The Mafia is still there. They're still up to their old tricks. They're still up to new tricks. They're into everything that they want to be into. They're probably stronger now than they were 10 years ago, I think. They're starting to reorganize. They're here. They're all over the city. They're all over everywhere. And the bosses, Luigi got made. Luigi's a made member. And that's official. He runs his own crew now. I guess he's still in it, I would imagine. A lot of guys went back to it. Some of the guys have passed away. But for the most part, right back to it. It's the life they chose, and, they're committed to it. And I respect that. Look, I chose the good guy's side. You chose the bad guy's side. You picked the team, and you're loyal to it. So for me, I guess that's my Bayonne attitude is, well, at least you're loyal to the team you picked. I don't like the team you picked, right? It's Yankees and the Boston Red Sox, right? We don't like each other. But you know what? Good on you. You won this one. And it's always a World Series. That's how I look at it. We'll get you next time.
When you're in the thick of it, when it's really life and death, how much of you is Giovanni Rocco? How much of you is Giovanni Gatto?
So I guess they're all me. It's just different components. And I look at Giovanni Gatto as the kid that Giovanni Rocco could have been, right? If he didn't die or go to jail. And that's my best way to explain it. That's what Giovanni Gatto is. If Giovanni Rocco didn't decide to become a police officer and go into law enforcement, he would have been Giovanni Gatto his whole life, and damn, I would have been a great gangster. And I used to say that to the FBI. Guys in my squad, I used to break their horns and say, guys, you guys are so lucky I'm on your team.